Coming up on this episode of DL Weekly, new tiki mugs for mansion fans, a shelved attraction is still possible, Disney Channel Nite details.
Lightning lane changes, chalk drawings are back in downtown Disney, and we finish our chat with Alex and more. DL Weekly starts now.
Well, hello there. Welcome to our unbirthday party. For your safety, please be sure to stay listening with your hands, arms, feet, and ears inside the podcast. And please, do give Tag and Teresa easier trivia questions. Well, it seems DL Weekly is about to begin. Have a most wonderful time. Perhaps tea time.
Hello and welcome to this episode of DL Weekly for the week of February 28th, 2024. I'm Tag Bushman.
And I'm James Bushman. You know me as Producer James. We would like to thank everyone who supports the show. This week, we'd like to welcome KW, Amanda F., both as official weekly tiers. If you would like to help support the show to make sure that we can keep bringing you the latest news and information, discussion, and interviews about Disneyland, head on over to dlweekly.net/support.
Now, let's get to the news. Well, Tiki and Haunted Mansion fans should get their pre-order on new Haunted Mansion Tiki mugs from Beeline Creative are available to pre-order at the link in our show notes. The mugs feature the hitchhiking ghosts, the grandfather clock, Madame Leota, and the female opera singer. Prices range from $29.99 to $34.99 and will ship starting in June.
When I first saw there were new Tiki mugs, I was like, all right, here we go. We got the 3 hitchhiking ghosts and Madame Leota coming as like guarantee there's the 4. So it's really refreshing to see the opera singer and the clock getting a little bit of time because there is so much in that mansion that deserves to be featured.
The clock.
The clock.
Yeah. The one big one is a 38-ounce Geeky Tiki's mug, apparently, and it has, of course, the hitchhiking ghosts all on it together with the mansion in the background. It holds approximately 38 ounces of liquid and measures 7 1/4 inches tall by 4 3/4 inches wide. Pretty cool. Then, of course, we have the...
That's a big mug.
It is a big mug. We have the grandfather clock, a 14-ounce Tiki mug for $30. Obviously, it looks like the grandfather clock. It says the Haunted Mansion on the back. What else do we got?
Well, I mean, on the back of the singing or the hitchhiking ghosts, you have the singing busts as well. So I think that's why you get the extra $5 cost because we're looking at front and back, let alone that absolutely massive size that's really filling inside of there. So, but you know, the other mugs, we got Madame Leota and her little crystal ball with the nice little mug. I don't think this one floats around, unfortunately, though. And then the female opera singer, like you said, in all her glory, singing in the graveyard or wherever you choose to enjoy this mug as well.
Yeah, pretty cool. I wish Teresa was here. I'm sure she'd be freaking out about Haunted Mansion Tiki mugs.
Oh, you know when she sees this, she's going to be plotting of, do I need these? No. Do I want them? Yes, I want all of them.
Can't disagree there.
As part of Celebrate Soulfully this month, some artwork has returned to downtown Disney. Marcellus Sweat, chalk muralist and senior production artisan of Disney Live Entertainment, was on location drawing these chalk creations, with chalk like it is. This year, the mural depicts Edmund Albius, a horticulturalist who revolutionized vanilla cultivation by developing a hand pollination technique to quickly pollinate vanilla orchids.
Now, what did you find out about this guy?
Yeah, so he figured this out when he was 12.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, small island way off the coast of Africa. I don't know the correct pronunciation because it's French, but it's like Reunion. But, like, seriously, what did I accomplish when I was 12? And this dude's revolutionized vanilla.
I mean, I would say that even in my 40s, I'm not sure exactly what I've accomplished in my life. Definitely not what this gentleman has. So, looks great as always. Marcella, always a pleasure to see out there doing stuff. I know it's been hard to do chalk drawings and stuff lately because of the fact that it's been raining and wet out there, but it's always nice. I got to talk with Marcella one time, and she was the sweetest person ever, and it's great that she's out there doing some more of these chalk drawings.
It's just one of those, like, I can't imagine the pressure of being out there and drawing in chalk and people are going to watch. And then you step away and it's, oh my gosh, look at this absolutely stunning mural.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that we got to learn a little bit about him.
Well, we spoke about the new projection housings that were installed in front of Sleeping Beauty Castle a few months ago. Well, the new 4K laser projectors are now in use as of this past weekend. The images are sharper, there's light only where the lasers are projected and not in the dark areas, making them pop just a little bit more. In addition to the castle projectors, it appears the projectors along Main Street were also upgraded.
Yeah. No, I gotta tell you, I'm a little weird. Like, I work...
A little weird?
Okay, yeah, fair. But, like, my work involves TV, motion, video production, these sorts. But I'm not the hugest fan of things like 4K and 8K because I don't think most people notice the difference. But reading about this and the major change of not illuminating the buildings when there's no projections there makes me say, okay, 100% totally worth it, because that just helps so much of that immersion and everything.
Well, if you think about 8K and 4K, it doesn't matter necessarily if you're on like a 60-inch screen in your house so much, but this is literally buildings. So you're going to see those things like pixelation stuff a little bit easier, even at those higher resolutions. So, of course, the higher resolution can get better. The plus, come on, lasers. Pictures with lasers.
Oh, yeah. Obviously, an absolute stunningly sounding good upgrade. I will look forward to seeing it in person. And if it's still Mickey's Mix Magic when I see it, I look forward to it because I definitely appreciate that show a lot more than the average Disney fan.
Yeah, but it'll make everything in the future look better. So we'll have to wait and see with Fantasmic if they do some type of, if they've upgraded those projectors. Word is still out on if the projectors around It's a Small World got updated. I assume that everything would get updated, but that's all we know about.
In due time, right? Iwaju, a new Walt Disney Animation Studios and Kugali media series for Disney Plus, is showing up at the resort. New merchandise for the series, which premieres the day this podcast posts, has arrived. Items include t-shirts, baseball caps, tumblers, and more.
I don't really know anything about this show, but I thought that the water bottle that they had looked kind of cool. The pin that they have is quite large. Apparently, fanny packs now are being called belt bags.
Yeah, that's the way to call it, because you wear it on your belt or across your chest in the one strap. So belt bag's definitely the thing.
Okay, learning new things. There's a keychain, notebook. Again, I don't know much about this show or anything like that. Have you heard about this show?
I have heard nothing about this. I've been outside the world of advertising, like seeing commercials or anything for quite a while. And I mean, we've been watching Disney Plus a bit with Bad Batch and a few other shows, but like this hasn't popped up. There hasn't been anything for it in the top bars of like coming soon. So I have no idea what to expect out of this.
According to the link in our show notes, it is set in a futuristic sci-fi version of Lagos, Nigeria, and is a coming-of-age story of the characters Tola and Cole, accompanied by the lizard Oten.
Obviously, your favorite character there being the lizard, because you love the adorable animal sidekicks.
I mean, that's true. I'll have to see what this lizard looks like, but it's only 6-episode show, so not a huge, long series like some of the others.
I mean, these patterns are so cool. The mix and pops of colors that come out of it, along with all the design. Like,
it's very 80s, early 90s.
Yeah. I would totally get into some of these, even without knowing what the purpose of this was.
Okay. Well, pin collectors, there is a new set of pins to collect that celebrate attractions at both coasts. The Bi-Coastal Adventures series honors attractions that exist at Disneyland and at Walt Disney World. The first in the series, Space Mountain, I know James is probably excited about that, was released in January with a limited edition of 4,000. This time, Soarin' has been released. The pins are $19.99. No word on if they're going to make all the attractions that fit into this category or not. And if you like pitting two coasts against each other, I'm going to put a little shout out here to our friends over at the Supreme Resort, who their entire podcast is talking about the differences and which resort reigns supreme.
It's nice. You finally got something that maybe works for the people that can appreciate both parks evenly and don't have that strong hometown feeling of this is the better park, this is my park. I think it's pretty smart to just have a little slider to reveal part of the attraction that you look at and just embrace the little bit of flags of what you're used to seeing on it.
What do you think about the Space Mountain one?
I haven't seen the Space Mountain
linked at the
one,
top.
so I got to go and click on it to actually give myself a look at it. I mean, it's fun to see that Chip and Dale got prime feature in that one.
I mean, who doesn't love Chip and Dale?
Right? What's funny to me is like there's not a lot of difference between the Disneyland and Disney World one on the outside, so it's kind of one consistent except for the name like Starport or Space Station.
Sure.
As they go through it. So I think this one's probably not as cool as Soarin', where we have two very distinct, I don't know what you'd call the outline, facades.
Sure.
Facades, we'll go with that.
Silhouettes of the attraction.
That's the word I was looking for, to really kind of have that going there. You know, I'm not always the biggest pin fan. That's definitely more your domain.
Yeah, I like the idea behind them. Visually, they're not that exciting to me. I don't think I would purchase these necessarily, but I think it's a cool idea.
Yeah, anything to get a little bit more attractions on pins, especially some that you may not see a lot of, I'm on board. With Star Wars Night ticket sales behind us, Disney has announced more details for the Disney After Dark Disney Channel Night coming up from the beginning of March. And boy, let me tell you, they've got the whole lineup going for you. Several different events happening to keep you engaged in like their streamosphere. Big buy-in for Descendants, having a dance party and a musical journey on the sailing ship Columbia.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, what a fun idea for that one to keep that going. You'll see other things. There's a karaoke and trivia challenge. High School Musical and Zombies are having some sort of mashup for a little pep rally, which makes so much sense since they both kind of have that high school feel.
Of course, we got the meet and greets with characters like Kim Possible, Baloo, King Louie, and Don Carnegie. I don't remember that character, but Leo, Stitch and Experiments, Chip and Dale and Monterey Jack, Darkwing Duck and Launchpad McQuack, Goofy and Max, Rapunzel and Flynn, Huey, Dewey, Louie, and Scrooge McDuck. I would love to get a photo with Huey, Dewey, Louie, and Scrooge. I actually kind of like Scrooge McDuck. Of course, Mickey and Minnie.
This is so many from like my childhood growing up and seeing things like that. Seeing the idea of like Kim Possible, Darkwing Duck, Goofy and Max. Like those are the ones that I'm like, I thought I learned my lesson from Star Wars Night of don't necessarily wait in line for all the character meet and greets, but it would be really hard for me not to.
Yeah. They have a lot of themed photos. Are there a couple on here that you're excited about from your childhood of Disney?
Gosh, there are so many. The Disney Channel Wand ID, amazing. I love that thing.
Where they drew the Mickey ears?
Yep, exactly. Gargoyles, Halloween Town, Lizzie McGuire, Proud Family, Sweet Life of Zack and Cody, That's So Raven, was into all of those shows at some point or another, some more than others. But it's like, oh, that would be great. And that would probably be the direction I would go to just get those quick little immersive pictures. Maybe pick one of the characters. And we haven't even started talking about food.
Well, food's a little different. So they announced 2 dining packages. There's going to be 2 places to have dining packages. There are Cafe Orleans and Riverbell Terrace. The Cafe Orleans package is $35 per adult for a 3-course prefix meal. Regular kids menu is available. Reservations for this are available from 8 p.m. to 11:30 p.m. The dining package for Riverbell Terrace doesn't require reservations, and they can basically walk up and do it. At Cafe Orleans, you have a choice of an entree between a deli meat, cheese, and crackers, a chicken tenders with mac and cheese, a PB&J Monte Cristo. Ooh, that sounds interesting. An Impossible spaghetti rings, and a French bread pepperoni pizza. You can choose from 2 sides of pommes frites, a fruit cocktail, a vegetable medley, or a little gem garden salad. And a dessert, you can either get the plant-based creme brulee or a brownie chocolate chunk cookie, which looked really good. What are the options at Riverbell?
Riverbell Terrace has the Nacho, as it should be called, the Nacho Taco, chili cheese fries, probably not enough cheese on that one, beef ravioli, the Riverbell rib sandwich, and then for dessert you get the Supernova Sundae, and I'm guessing that the sides are probably consistent at both restaurants. But I don't know about that one. Oh, that one's a walk-up and add. It's not the 3-course fixed meal.
Yes.
That makes a lot of sense now that I'm actually reading this.
I want to know, do you think, is this the Supernova Sundae that's pictured in this that we have linked in the show notes? Because there's something about it that just looks super yummy to me.
Yeah, that looks about right, because you got the little cake with the ice cream and the sprinkles that look so retro.
Yeah, very retro for Disney Channel Night. Well, we spoke recently about the construction that's happening across from Grizzly River Run. We suggested that it might be the large air dryer that was once in this location where you could get off being drenched and go in, and it basically is like an air hand dryer, but for your whole body. Well, this week we found out it's actually relocation of the lockers for the attraction, since the previous location will be used for a DVC kiosk.
Womp womp.
I mean, it looks like there's going to be less lockers than there were before, too, which is also kind of a sad thing. I was hoping that they would bring back the full body dryer. I don't understand what happened. They brought it there. It was there for a couple weeks, maybe a month, and then it was gone. Like,
yeah.
What, like, did they rent this? Did Disney buy this and decide it wasn't working and it's sitting somewhere? I just have so many questions.
And I think we're going to get so few answers for that as well. Yeah, something like that outside of a water attraction, especially when you can get incredibly soaked on that one, just feels so nice to not have to walk around feeling wet. And fewer lockers, like, this attraction draws a good crowd, I feel like, pretty consistently, especially on nice days in the spring and the summer.
Did you ever, I can't remember, did you ever go on this and get completely drenched?
I have yet to get completely drenched.
Okay.
I have sat next to people who've gotten completely drenched.
So you have somehow gotten lucky.
Somehow I've gotten lucky. I've gotten wet, but not like I'm still dripping wet 2 hours later.
Okay.
But I've seen your pictures.
You have somehow been lucky.
Yes. I fear my luck is going to run out, though.
Well, they fixed the geyser, supposedly.
Oh, good. So I can definitely get soaked on the next one. A perk of having a broken down attraction when holding a lightning lane for it has changed. Previously, a multi-experience pass was given in these situations, which allowed guests to go to any attraction and skip the line. The system now only allows lightning lane attractions to be used. There is no official word on Disney changing this policy, but multiple people reported online the new policy since as far back as December. I don't know if you necessarily call it a policy since Disney is not announcing it, but you know.
Well, it's one of those situations where people are taking these multi-experience pass barcodes that get loaded as like a lightning lane in your app and going to attractions that they've used it on previously. Alice in Wonderland was one example that they used, that you could walk up and say, hey, I'm here for this, and they try to scan it with their little scanner, and it doesn't accept it. So somebody messaged in to guest services on the app and took a screenshot saying that, yes, it's only good on other Lightning Lane attractions now. So I don't know. I feel like they add Lightning Lane to the most popular attractions in the park, so I feel like those are the things you're going to want to skip anyway. But I can also see how you might want to use it on something like Peter Pan or Alice that seems to always have a long line.
Yep, and that makes sense. But I think I get where they're going, because then the system actually works within what it's doing, because Alice otherwise doesn't have a reason for
You'd go in the exit.
Things in. Yeah, so you do that for like your access passes of people who would do something like that otherwise. But, you know, I don't think they are typically looking or would be going for like trying to scan someone in the exit. So
sure,
I think this while it does take away from people's options, makes sense for me systematically. So I mean, I guess I haven't benefited from it otherwise. So it's hard for me to feel heartbroken about something I've never had.
Sure. Well, you might like this next one, but it's also something you've never had, but it could be interesting. A lively conversation happened online between two former Imagineers, giving us hope that a canceled Star Wars Galaxy's Edge attraction may happen sometime in the future. The Ellie concept, which was the name of the mechanical creature that guests could ride around the land, was worked on for over a year, but was cut due to budget reasons. The Imagineers said there is still room, and the tech is pretty much worked out for this.
I mean, of course I'm going to be excited for this, but the reason that I'm so excited for this was that huge promise of what Galaxy's Edge is supposed to be. It's supposed to be that lively market with several immersive events, and they're starting to get there with the characters going around and a lot of things happening. You got the Bounty Hunter game showing up now, but having something like this, it makes me think of like the Jolly Trolley back in Toontown, which was just something kind of cute and there, and this I think would have a lot more of a draw of like, I want to be the person to ride this and get on it. So it definitely pull people in that direction. But it just adds to the life that is supposed to be inside of Star Wars Galaxy's Edge.
Batu is supposed to look like a bustling marketplace and all of this, and it just doesn't.
Yeah,
some days.
Except on Star Wars night when everyone is flooded there and
that's
embracing it, but that's not an everyday thing. Well, we first spoke with our friends at Where in the Park back on episode 265. Amanda and Kevin create amazing and fun seek and find scavenger hunt games in the theme park all over the United States. Whether you want a challenge at the Disneyland Resort or want to explore a new place like Universal Studios, Knott's Berry Farm, or SeaWorld, there are fun game packs for everyone, from beginner to expert. Where in the Park is perfect for a first-time visit to experience the small details that make the parks wonderful to visit, or to challenge yourself on your 1,000th visit to see how well you know those small details. Where in the Park is for you. If you want that experience, visit the link in our show notes to get started.
So this week, unfortunately, we are skipping Snack Chat because
I'm full.
Yeah. Well, we usually would pick a different location, but this week with just a bunch of stuff going on, we just did not have time to get that done. And there wasn't any like foodie guide or anything out. There was a little bit of food we talked about for Disney Channel Night, but unfortunately, no Snack Chat this week.
So we're just going to use this to be jealous that Teresa has a Disney World experience going on while we're here recording the podcast.
Well, she went to Epcot over the weekend. She's on a cruise right now.
I was saying she was at a park and
That's
we
true.
weren't.
That's true. She got to experience the really cool Epcot design stuff that's there now. Well, our friends over at All Enchanting Ears have been busy. They make fun and unique ears, plus ear holders, straw toppers, lithophanes, and more. They're offering a special discount code available to all weekly tiers. Use code DLWeekly10 for 10% off your entire purchase. To get that, head on over to allenchantingears.com to check them out.
Pilots, we've detected some producer questions near Jakku. Report to your DL Weekly vessels and make the jump to hyperspace. The 7-7 Squadron will provide support during your trivia mission. Good luck, and may the Force be with you.
Well, I have quickly run and changed costumes.
Will you do like you did with our Dungeons & Dragons? Will you be like, I'm going to ask the question. I don't know what the answer is. And go back and forth, because that was kind of entertaining.
This is great because I will ask myself the questions, wait for you to answer, and then I'll get all the answers right because we're in trivia land. In case you haven't gotten there with us yet.
Sure.
I'm sure the voice of Andy helped guide us.
Yes, of course,
which is lovely. I have a good plan for you for this week.
Okay. What is the plan?
Since Teresa's gone, we're going to ask about the park the year you were born.
Okay.
Do you remember
was the park around when I was born? No, I'm just kidding. Yes, this is all trivia from 1981, so you guys can all know how old I am now.
Mm-hmm.
What year would the park be? I remember the year. I remember going to the Disneyland, I think first or second time ever the year you were born.
Yeah, 1989. Yeah. Things were interesting then, but we're not talking about me. We're talking about you.
Do you know what big attraction opened in 1989 at Disneyland?
I did at one point, but I don't remember now.
Take a guess.
Winnie the Pooh.
Splash Mountain.
Didn't last as long as some of the other ones. But now we get the upgraded version.
But Winnie the Pooh's there.
Still is. Poor Critter Country. Okay, again, enough about me.
Yeah.
It's about you. So my first question for you is, what was the fireworks show playing in 1981?
Fantasy in the Sky. That went on for like a gajillion years.
A gajillion years. Are you aging yourself?
No, I'm saying that from like 1956 or something to late 90s, early 2000s it ran.
Good thing that's not the trivia question, right?
Yeah.
All right, Fantasy in the Sky. Question number 2. In 1981, ticket books were beginning to be phased out. What was replacing them?
The Passport, which is what we have today. You buy the one ticket, it includes all the attractions. That's the Passport.
The Passport. Very good. Number 3 for you this week. There weren't any major attractions that opened on your birth year, but there was one that opened 2 years before and one that opened 2 years later. Can you tell me what they were?
So 1979.
Yep.
1979. What opened in 1979? Was 1979 Big Thunder Mountain?
Maybe.
It might have been earlier than that. I'm going to say Big Thunder Mountain because I think 77 was Space Mountain. But I could be getting those backwards, but I'm not sure. And then 81, 82, so 83. Well, 83 was it 84 was the new Fantasyland? And basically it got rededicated, or was that 83?
It might have been.
Well, you're asking me what attraction.
I'm looking for a single attraction.
Yeah, so it's probably not all of Fantasyland.
It's probably not all of Fantasyland.
I was just going to ask the dumbest question. I was going to be, this is in Disneyland, right? Well, duh, DCA wasn't around yet. It'd be another
in our DCA dreams 20
years later. Let's see. 83. What attraction opened in 83? Was it a new attraction or was it like a redo of an old attraction?
It was new.
Okay, because I was going to say that maybe it was like the Country Bear, like a version of the Country Bears. 83. Can you give me a hint?
It is a Fantasyland attraction.
That's stupid because they were going to open the rest of it over whatever. Pinocchio.
Okay, Pinocchio it is.
Yeah, Pinocchio.
Okay, moving on. Fourth question.
But now I don't feel like that's right. But maybe.
If we've learned anything in Trivia Land, especially
just
from Teresa, you got to trust your gut. Because when you change your mind...
But I'm not Teresa.
That's true. You are not Teresa. That would be very confusing if I'm looking at you and you were actually Teresa.
Yeah, because I'd be thousands of miles away on a cruise ship. Okay.
All right, that fourth question. One of those two attractions that you mentioned took the place of another attraction that was there. What closed to make way for it? I do have a hint for you on this one if you want it.
Well, if it was Big Thunder Mountain Railroad, it was the Rainbow Mine Train, the mine train through Nature's Wonderland that was there in the Rainbow whatever caverns, whatever. So that would be there. If it was Pinocchio, it was like I think it was like the Mickey Mouse Theater, the Fantasyland Theater. It was some theater venue or something that was there, or it was like there was like a shop. Wasn't this where like the orange shop or what? I don't know. There was something weird like that. We've had this before.
My question is specifying an attraction, not a shop.
So yeah, I'm going to stick with the so is this for both or one?
Just one of them.
Okay, yeah. So I'm going to say the first one that I said.
Because my hint, which might have helped, was this attraction that was moved, and was renamed later with a more classic spelling. So, but you locked in your answers. So.
Oh, then it probably was. I'm just going to give you my thought. You don't have to give me the points for it. Then my thought would be that it was probably the teacups opened and the King Arthur Carousel moved to where the teacups were. Something like that, I think it was.
Sure.
Because carousel would have been the different spelling, is my thought. Anyway.
That's fair. All right, I do have a bonus for you.
Who are you? You never have a bonus question.
I know, but I had a bonus for you this time.
Is it because you found some other 1981 thing?
I did.
Okay.
And I put it as the bonus question because I feel like there's no way you're going to get this right.
Wow.
Because according to Disneyland Summer 1981 Wallet Fact Cards, what was the attendance for the park as of March 1981?
So does that mean like the amount of visitors who had visited Disneyland since opening in March of 1981?
Yes.
Okay. That is going to be 50 million guests.
50 million guests. All right.
That's probably incorrect.
That is probably incorrect.
Okay.
But maybe it's not. Who knows?
Okay.
But we have to wait to find out how Tag did and how well you remember 1981 after our discussion topic this week.
This week for our discussion topic, we are concluding our interview with Alex, talking about his time at Big Thunder Mountain Railroad. A couple questions. One, this one maybe will be an easy one for you. As a cast member that worked Big Thunder, what is like a pet peeve of yours that guests would do that maybe our listeners can hear and try not to do in the future?
Don't ever try to get your kid on a ride that they're too short on.
Oh,
plain and simple.
Yeah,
plain and simple. That is the
trying
number
to save their
one
life,
thing.
man.
If you are a hair under, respect that. That's my biggest thing. Is as cast members, it wasn't my job to, it wasn't my joy to ruin your trip to Disneyland because I said that your son or daughter was too small to ride on the ride. There are so many things at play that it may not seem like a big deal that you're an eighth of an inch too short. That, I mean, what's the worst that could happen? But when it comes down to it, it's all about liability.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, honestly, that's the first thing that I jump to is don't try to get your kid onto the ride if they are too short. And that is something that I will always respect with my own kids. And anytime we travel, if there's any question, we'll be like, nope, trust your judgment. We'll come back another time.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one of them. The other pet peeves are stupid. They're shallow, like ridiculous. Al Stewart hates dumb things.
He's upset that people don't listen to the old miner, and he has to go pick up all their hats and glasses
in the wilderness. One of the things that always used to, because I got grumpy sometimes. I tried not to be grumpy, but Thunder Mountain stress made a miner grumpy. And one of the things is that I got tired of is, can we get the back row? Can we get the back row?
Oh no, we're those people.
No.
We're those people.
I always ask for the back because that is the only way to ride Big Thunder.
Yeah,
so
but a lot of the hard thing is a lot of people ask now.
But you'll notice that I said I was grumpy about it. There's really no reason why I should be grumpy about something. That's a really shallow and stupid thing to be grumpy about, is you as a guest want to get the best ride. And the reason why it irritates me is because it throws my group off. Shame on me, not shame on the guest on that.
Well, realistically, on that attraction, like out of 100 guests, how many asked to sit in the back row?
In my experience, 7/8.
Really?
Everybody wants to ride in the back. Everybody wants to ride in the back.
We should start going and asking for the front tag. Can we sit in the front row?
The front on Big Thunder is the worst.
That's what I'm saying. They're going to be like, you row fit. Wait a minute. Row 1.
I saw somebody claim that row 1, 7, and 15 are the best on Big Thunder Mountain. And I'm going to say that the 15th row is by far the best on Big Thunder Mountain.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know all this business about 1st and 7th because I've ridden in every single row of that attraction. And I can tell you the 1st and the 7th don't hold the candle to how fun the 15th is.
Mm-hmm.
What's so weird is the whole train goes the same speed, but there's something about being in the back and being kind of whipped around or
physics.
something.
Yeah, it's the physics of the whole experience. And really what it comes down to is you want the goat rush as much as possible, and you don't get the goat rush nearly as much anywhere else other than the 15th row.
The goat rush.
Yes.
Goat rush.
Okay.
I always wonder, because maybe, Alex, you would know this. I feel like I've seen something, and I feel like it wasn't intentional. The goat stare. Do you talk about that? Do you know? Because I feel like there was something I saw that just kind of was a fluke, and it wasn't really them purposely putting the goat there for people to stare at to get the extra, the extra, whatever you want to call it, whoosh feeling.
Yeah, that hoop-de-doo feeling in the tum-tum. No, there was, from my understanding and from my research, there was no intentionality whatsoever with the placement of that goat. That was just kind of a happy little whoopsie that everybody has exploited.
Now iconic.
It's one of I would love to know, like, where that who was the one that's like, let's stare at the, like, how did that even come up? Were they just that fascinated with the goat?
It was probably an accident.
Keep their eyes off of the goat, and they're like, whoa, okay, that was weird.
Yeah, it is a great question. It's one of those that I love, and we probably have all of these from our childhood, but those things that there's a way to jump over the flag in the first Mario game and you find a different world. Those types of things where you're like, there's no way that that's possible. But every 6-year-old kid is like, I had a friend who did that. and there's these little things that get thrown out there, and it just becomes part of the fabric of the lore of a place. And I think that's what's so beautiful about the goat, is that the goat was pre-social media, and even now it supersedes social media because it's just a word of mouth thing. When I was working there in 2007, it really was not considered a widely known thing. I'll say that it was mostly just cast members who knew to watch the goat. And I think that it trickled out from us cast members bringing family members who then so on and so forth. So I do think that it was probably a cast member who had ridden the ride 400 times. And that goat, I mean, there's a reason. I don't know if you guys can see it right here, but on my tiki shelf, I have the goat tiki mug right there, courtesy of Tiki Tony. There's the goat has become a mascot. And I would guess that it's a goofy cast member who was just staring longingly into the goat's eyes and realized that they felt something weird by the time they got to the bottom of the hill, and it wasn't something that they normally felt towards the goat. And so I think that that's probably where it came from. But yeah, I don't think it was necessarily an intentionally planned goat rush.
Being a former cast member of Big Thunder, does the goat have an official name?
Oh,
Billy.
I was going to say, I feel like it's Billy, but I don't know if I made that up.
Billy the goat.
That was the official name. I mean, I don't know if they came up with something more clever since I worked like, there.
How did why is the snow monster guy in the Matterhorn? Why is he Harold? You know?
Yeah.
Billy makes sense. Billy Goat.
Yeah, but it's nothing like clever. You'd think that they would name it after one of the custodial cast members who really had a cool goatee or something. But no, there's no cool story behind it.
Maybe that was his name. Maybe that was the guy with the cool goatee.
Touche.
Okay, 2 questions that are both weird. One of them's kind of a negative question, and so I'm hoping that after this, Teresa will finish us out with like a positive question.
Of course, you're ending like we've been talking for forever. And you left the negative thing to the end.
Well, because I didn't find a place to put it really. So two things.
This is a great place for it.
2 things. One, I don't think it was during your time there, but maybe you can sort of speak to it.
Okay.
Is why does the effect in that last tunnel of like how hard is it to get smoke to come out of that stupid thing?
Yeah.
I think that was maybe
like what?
Yeah, I think
it was,
after,
but like,
Alex.
but like, my gosh, like that effect doesn't work as well without the smoke.
I think that's a very fair criticism. So I worked at a time when, believe it or not, and this is the same way that it is now, from my understanding. Disney, the Walt Disney Company, operates on a shoestring budget everywhere in the parks. The parks are one of their biggest money makers, and the parks are one of the places where they put the least amount of funding. Yeah. And you see that historically. It's absolutely insane. It's absolutely insane. And that's why it was so shocking when we heard all this news about them infusing like $6.5 billion into parks. We were like, hey, what? Huh? Did somebody get a concussion? Like, we weren't sure where that came from because, parks never gets a budget. And so for when I was working Big Thunder Mountain, Sea Lift, there was nothing. Sea Lift, there was maybe a can that was moving back and forth or a lantern that was doing a little wobble. But outside of that, it was the ultimate letdown. I mean, there was no shadow of the miner who was pushing the plunger down and making the big thing blow or anything like that. It was supposed to do all those things, but never once the whole time I worked there did anything on Sea Lift work. So when they revamped, I want to say that was 2014 is when they went in and revamped all of Sea Lift. It was for every current and former miner on Big Thunder Mountain, every single one of us just rode through there. And it was like that scene out of The Sandlot when they play baseball on the 4th of July and everybody just stops playing the game and they're just looking up in awed silence as Ray Charles is singing America the Beautiful and these pops and explosions are happening. That's the feeling that we as former cast members feel every time we went up Sea Lift when all of those effects were working. We were just like, this is what it's supposed to be. And now it's just reverted back to the lowest common denominator. That's like, I see a lot of explosions, and every once in a while, you'll actually see the effect where the fuse runs up to the top of the lift.
Yeah.
But without the smoke, the fuse means nothing. And so
you hear the explosion, but
yeah, you don't actually get anything from it. The long and short of it is, I think it's budget. I think that it really comes down to they need to make sure that the animatronics are working on It's a Small World, and as a result, their time allotted for engineering went to that instead of fixing the smoke machine. You know, another thing that I'm wondering, part of me wonders if it's a Prop 65 thing, potentially, that if EPA came in and said whatever smoke you're blowing out there could at some level be toxic and noxious, and as a result of that, where one in 500,000 people are going to have a reaction, they may have nixed it potentially for that. That's an educated guess, just based off of the knowledge that I have about how Disney operated most of their safety concerns, quote unquote safety concerns. So that could very well be a thing. Another thing that could be possible with that is they may not have designed it correctly in the way that smoke, when it billows out, it obscures the camera on Sealift. And so you can't necessarily see the activity. And somebody could be standing up, which happens a lot. People stand up on those lifts all the time. And so they may have not designed that so well that they decided to pull out that smoke so they can actually have better visual.
It might be a reset thing too, because it feels like sometimes there's smoke and sometimes it's not. So it might just be a reset delay. Whatever they got going up there couldn't pop the smoke out as quickly, you know.
Absolutely.
Didn't fill the smoke tank.
You know, one of the things, which, I mean, this is back to your roots, Alex, was back in the jungle. When they were doing the behind the scenes or behind the attraction for Indiana Jones, and Tony Baxter was talking about how they had this effect where it looked like the ceiling was falling in the temple. I was like, excuse me? They did. There was an ice machine and it would drop ice and it looked like the temple was crumbling, but like it didn't melt. It was something about like the melting and the producing of the ice couldn't keep up with how frequently that effect needed to happen. So they just got rid of it. So they so they actually went in the behind the attraction and they showed like, here's the ice machine.
The machine.
Yep.
I'm
pretty certain it was behind the attraction that they did that. But I was just like,
that sounds right.
What a cool effect. Like, I wish I could have, like, that would have been something I wish I could have seen.
You know, the weird thing, this is going to be a shocking admission. I don't think I've watched a full episode of Behind the Attraction.
They're good.
But here's what I'll say. I've been watching a little bit of the Star Tours because we're going through Star Tours right now. We're getting ready to release Star Tours Backside of Water episode here soon. But I've been going through it. And one thing that I've noticed is there's curious parts of the story that are overlooked by Behind the Attraction. And really Behind the Attraction to me is behind our genius. And you don't really see the drama and you don't see the story of bumbling through something. It all, for the most part, is very clean and very Walt Disney in that way. Mm-hmm. Whereas what I love is the gaffes, and I love the misdirection and the oopsies that resulted in brilliance. And that's just what I don't know. I don't know. For some reason, maybe you guys need to give me like the greatest hits of Behind the Attraction, because I need to find some episodes where I'm just like totally and utterly wowed by the knowledge.
I think one of the hard things is being as big of nerds of Disney and Disney parks as we are. A lot of the stuff that they cover is stuff that, because we're nerds and we did all this self-researching on these, it's maybe not new information, but like,
it's Ron Swanson meme of him being at Home Depot. He's like, I'm no more than you.
But like, I'm never going to experience the basketball court in the Matterhorn, whereas they filmed up there. So stuff, and like the ice machine in Indiana Jones, like stuff like that, I find fascinating.
You know what? I actually founded. I founded a podcast based off of the history. The one thing that I found was more fascinating, in my opinion, is the Imagineering story.
The
Imagineering story.
Yeah. Oh yeah. We need more Imagineering story. I feel like Behind the Attractions just kind of like.
I think it's
the attitude. the attitude that they go at it with is they try to make it entertaining because it's
kind of playful.
It seems like the producers of that series doesn't think that the content itself will be entertaining enough, so they have to gag it.
Yeah, because they kind of make it kind of light.
Yeah.
Which maybe that's intentional because then, it appeals to all ages, whereas Behind the Attraction was a little more serious, like maybe children.
Yeah.
Maybe kids wouldn't be as in tune or enthralled. Mm-hmm. Whereas me, I was like, where's parts a million? Like you could just have this. I would pay for Disney Plus just for this.
Agreed. And I mean, here I am throwing, rocks at glass houses, being like, they put so many gags in there to try to get the story across. And that's all we do on our podcast is just a bunch of gags in the story to get the point across. But I don't know. I think maybe I just haven't watched enough. I think that's really what it is I need to sit down and get into it.
I binge it some weekend, I'm telling you. Just sit down and just blow through it. There's only like 15 episodes or something in both seasons, total.
One thing that I've been consciously avoiding it for, I think, now that I really have a moment to reflect about it, is I only watch episodes about attractions we've covered already, because one thing that I don't want to do is just repeat behind the attraction, because they really do a great job of telling the sequential story of the attraction. And one thing that I would worry about is somebody who writes about those things being kind of influenced too much by their timeline and by the facts that they point out. And so thankfully we've gone through most of the park, so there's not a lot of source material, because one thing that you'll see is historically a lot of the history that you see, for instance, like I said, with Star Tours being one of them on the first season of Behind the Attraction, a lot of the information that you find on resources online are all influenced by Behind the Attraction now. And so information that may not have been there or may have been communicated differently previously has been kind of retconned to match up with what you see on Behind the Attraction. So I think that that's probably the main reason. I do need to just go back and watch Attraction, and then I'll just embarrass myself and be like, man, I got that wrong. That wasn't right history. That was wrong. It's a lose-lose.
Yeah.
So my last question that was the poo-poo before Teresa brings it back to something great.
Okay, so this is the
I thought
question?
that last one was the negative one because you were pointing out
I said
things
I had
not working.
two. I said I had two.
Oh, I didn't realize they were both negative.
There was, well, not the other one's negative. It's just kind of like a sad, whatever. I don't know, however you want to take it. There was that video a couple years ago of that person who on B-lift, with the goat, who had somehow got off of the attraction to grab their phone.
That's right.
Yes.
How often does that happen, and how the heck does it happen? It just is baffling to me. First of all, it's baffling to me that somebody thinks, oh, let me get off of this attraction that they have me barred down into, because obviously it's just for show or something.
Yeah. Well, it's amazing. I mean, honestly, it's the blessing and the curse of what Disneyland does to a person.
Yes.
Disneyland really invites you as a guest to believe that the place is yours. And that's what I think is so cool. You don't get
safe.
that at
that
Knott's.
It's yours and it's safe.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. You don't get that at Magic Mountain. You don't get that at any of these Six Flags theme parks or amusement parks. They're not your park. Whereas Disneyland has this familiarity to it that really does make you put your guard into a different place and makes your expectation believe that you can do more of what you want at this park because it's my park. I mean, this is my place. And as a result, I think that that's one of the motivations. Maybe that's more of the innocent motivation. Whereas I think that the secondary motivation is there's no accounting for the depths of a human's abilities to do dumb things. And people sometimes just don't think through the fact that if a train came through there while you were getting your cell phone off of the track, you wouldn't get hurt. You would die. Yeah. And people don't really contextualize that, because Teresa, what you brought up earlier is absolutely true. that people believe that you are just in an inherent safe bubble inside of the walls of Disneyland. So things that are traditionally seen as foolish or not smart to do, people are willing to put those to the side because you're in the padded walls of Disneyland. And I will say, I think you see that a lot less than Disney can't keep those secrets anymore, is what I should say.
Yeah.
Is there's a lot of people who are like, Disney keeps all of this stuff under the rug. Believe it or not, Disney is not good at keeping any sort of accidents or secrets at the park. There's too many eyeballs. There's just too many eyeballs.
And now there's too many phones. There's too many cameras.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. So your eyeballs went from 20 sets watching it to 2 million sets watching it on a live feed. And because of that, whenever you see these stories coming out about these incidents, it's not because it's one that Disney had where it got away from them. That's basically as rare as it is. I thought that you were going to bring up the spreading of the ashes stories on Big Thunder Mountain.
We've talked about that with Haunted Mansion before.
Yes, yeah. Big Thunder Mountain and Jungle Cruise are also two that are very, very popular for the spreading of one's ashes. And there was the Big Thunder
Hopefully
Mountain was closed
15.
for an entire day. Yeah, exactly. If it's row 1, then everybody is going to get a wilder ride in the wilderness. But there was an incident that happened, late 2010s, like 2017, 18, where they closed Big Thunder Mountain for the full day. And even though it was like 9 years after I had worked at the park, 8 years, my phone was blowing up with people being like, Big Thunder's closed. Big Thunder's closed. There's something going on with Big Thunder. Like, it's a big deal. And somebody had spread ashes on Big Thunder Mountain. And they had to go out and sweep up the relative in order to get the attraction going. And then you had that giant, like, what was it, like a weather balloon or something that crashed onto Big Thunder Mountain just a few years ago. I don't know if you guys heard this story. But yeah, it was one of those where people were like, oh, is this a terrorist attack? But
what is this?
It was just like some random rogue balloon had crashed down onto Big Thunder Mountain and caused a big old tiff over on the west side of the park and caused the ride to close down for a number of hours. And there was a lot of attention being pulled on because of, like, I think it was the weather balloon that crashed onto Big Thunder Mountain. There's crazy things that happen on Big Thunder Mountain all the time like that. And it cracks me up because it really is the wildest ride in the wilderness. You never know what to expect on that thing.
So, Alex, before we wrap up, I want to know, you being a fan and you being a former miner, what is either like a detail or a tidbit or something that you just think is amazing and is your favorite? Maybe we can say that. I don't know if it's like a specific, I mean, it could just be something silly like, I love the goat, or I love, whatever. Like, is there something about that attraction that really speaks to you in a certain way?
Teresa comes with all the great questions. I'm like, talk about the broken effect. And then you're like, think about this amazing special thing. And I'm like, damn, that's a good question.
Oh, story of my life, my friend.
I'm looking, by the way, I'm looking through my bookshelf here real quick because I thought I had a book. Maybe it was the People versus Disneyland one that talked about all of the like things that happened in the park.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, those scandalous ones.
Based on lawsuits.
Yeah, I think it's the People versus Disneyland, yeah.
I bet that's a fascinating book. I bet there's a lot of complaints that you're just like, wait, seriously? You were upset about that? Like, that was something that caused bodily harm?
It's a lot of people trying to sue the park for like really dumb things, like I dropped my ice cream cone and it caused emotional damage, so Disney owes me like that. Seriously.
Oh boy.
I mean, I will say that's a distressing feeling when a beignet hits the ground. I mean, I feel like there's a disturbance in the force. Like, if I'm in Galaxy's Edge and that happens, in New Orleans Square, I feel like Obi-Wan Kenobi in A New Hope. It's as though 1,000 souls cried out all at once and then suddenly silenced.
I'll tell you, Big Thunder shows up on page 2550, pages 128 through 134, 146 and 151.
Wow. Okay, I need to pick this book up. But I think that some of that would just really irritate me too. Like, I'd just be like, come on, guys. This is why we can't have fun things at Disneyland, because you do this. Oh, shoot. I'm trying to think of the answer to this question. And, I think one of my... So this is something for somebody to, like, take a look at or to take special notice of. It's a unique experience that I think that if everybody has the opportunity to, you should. At night, after a rainstorm, there is nothing more beautiful than walking through the queue area of Big Thunder Mountain.
Oh.
And the reason why is because the rain, if it's just a light summer rain, it has essentially caused everything in that queue area to glisten. And as that glisten effect happens, if you so happen to be, for me, it was when the Year of a Million Dreams and the, what was the name of the fireworks show at that time? I think it was Believe, that Dreams Come True or something. I'm not a
Remember Dreams Come True?
Person. Remember, yes. Remember, Dreams Come True.
That's the best fireworks show they've ever had.
I agree. And so there's that sequence at the end of that where it was all just like that champagne gold fireworks display that was going on. And when you were walking through the queue area and it was empty and it had just rained and you saw the sky filled with golden sparks and fireworks, and you walk through that queue and you board your train and you ride through, there's something beautifully, silently chaotic about the juxtaposition between the pure serenity of that wet, glistening ground compared to the trains that are exploding around you. That is unmatched in the park. You cannot find that experience anywhere else in the park other than the queue area of Big Thunder Mountain. Believe it or not, I'm way more enamored by the queue area than the attraction itself, because I think that queue is just such a respite from the rest of the park.
Yeah.
It's one of the most natural areas that you get in the park. It's also fairly unaccosting as far as the visuals go with it. And that's what I love, is it's a peaceful place in the park. You've got that fun music coming from Rainbow Ridge, and it's really just a zen moment that you can have in the park. So, like I said, to wrap that up, because I'm insanely long-winded, I apologize.
No, you're fine.
If you can, get on Big Thunder Mountain right after it's rained in the dark, because it is just, there's nothing like it.
I was going to say earlier that the queue for Big Thunder, I think, is particularly beautiful because you're surrounded by the attraction.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it's a berm.
Like, what other queue other than Radiator Springs is this way too?
Yes.
You are surrounded by the attraction, and that is such a great use of space.
Yep.
Well, and talk about like story. It just brings you right. You're literally in the middle of the story.
Yeah. Yep. You can't get away from it. You are surrounded by it. And I think that's the brilliance. And that was the magic of what happened in 70s Disneyland, where you actually had some extra space to be able to play.
Sure.
And I think that's what's so unique about that, because I mean, you've got it on a tiny microcosm in Pirates, where you're surrounded in that single area, but it's only for about 3 minutes.
Yeah.
And then you're out of the bowl and you're up and out. So I think that's a really good observation, that it's very unique in that way. Mm-hmm. It's just the most immersive. Big Thunder.
Plus,
you do
there's
it every
just,
time.
like you said, there's just so many more, and it makes sense. You're spending more time in the queue, so of course there's going to be more details and more things to kind of soak in versus when you're flying by. Half the time I forget what animals are on Big Thunder because you're just whizzing right on past. So it's like,
exactly.
So like just weird things, like I didn't realize that the possums like fell from, like, not fell, but like fell and swung from the trees, because
exactly.
Just it depends on when you hit that.
That is one that I think is fun to point out, is on that B lift, that second lift that you go up, there's a bunch of tools up there. And I always love pointing out the bull castrator. There's like, it's a big pair of like scissor looking things. And that's exactly what it's used for.
Alex, where can people find you and your lovely stories about all the cool history, along with being quite entertained by your jokes and tomfoolery on your podcast?
That's a great question, Tag. And the answer is nowhere. I'm quitting after this show. This is it. We're done. After this chicanery. No, where you can find us, we're on the backside of water. You can find us on every podcast platform out there. On social media, you can find us on Instagram. That's mostly where we are, is on Instagram. Whatever Twitter is now, X or Gamma Quadrant, I don't know what it is. We don't really do much over there anymore. We've got some YouTube ideas coming up here. We're going to be probably launching some stuff over on YouTube. But primarily from the social side, when we were talking off air, I told everybody that I am absolutely terrible at social media. So you can follow us on Instagram, and you can actually, I would love if you followed us on Instagram so you can truly see how bad I am at social media.
You're very hard on yourself, Alex. I enjoy your social media page.
The good news is it won't fill your feed with a bunch of like posts that get annoying.
You're not going to get spammed. That's for darn sure. If you follow Backside of Water, our motto is do it very sparsely.
Less is more.
And yes, less is a lot less with the Backside of Water. So with that, primarily keep an ear out. We're actually nearing our end of the first Grand Circle tour of Disneyland. Y'all believe it or not, it has taken us almost 10 years to get around the park. That's how meticulous.
How many episodes have you done?
I believe we are on episode 88 right now.
Wow.
And we still have Galaxy's Edge, all of Main Street, and Steam Trains to go. So there's a lot left. There's a lot left. But after that, Freddie Martin and I have been talking. We are going to be doing the next exploration that the Backside of Water is going to tackle is going to be the story of Walt Disney's Florida Project. So we're not going to talk about Epcot as we know it today, but we're going to do almost like a mini series, 6-8 episodes of Walt Disney's original vision for the experimental prototype community of tomorrow. So that's something that I'm very much looking forward to.
I saw that video, awesome. Walt's like last pitch video to try to like talk about Epcot. And when I first saw that, my mind was blown. And I was like, why did they build a theme park when they could have built this?
Crazy, isn't it?
Yeah,
and then when you see all this Reedy Creek District stuff that's been coming up in the media, that's all based off of experimental prototype community of tomorrow stuff that Walt Disney was like, I want to create a city and I want to govern it. And in some ways, it goes a little dystopian. And I think that that's going to be one of the fascinating things to look at, is to be like, Walt Disney wanted to run a tight ship down there to the point where it's a little alarming how tight of a ship was going to be run down there. And so the big question is always asked, if Epcot existed the way Walt Disney wanted it to, could it actually exist? Or was it much too utopian to the point where it became dystopian? So I think it's a fascinating topic that not a lot of people explore.
Yeah. Very interesting. Well, we look forward to hearing more about that.
I definitely look forward to hearing that.
Y'all, thank you very much for having me back. I love having an excuse for us to be able to talk together for now off air and on air. We've talked almost 3 hours.
Yep.
Y'all, I love what you are doing in the Disney space. I'm going to give this compliment on air the way that, I think I said it at the very beginning, that you guys are my main Disney podcast. Maybe I didn't say it while we were recording. DL Weekly is the main Disney podcast that I listen to. When I need news or when I need updates about what's coming to the park, I come to this podcast. And I just appreciate the fresh perspective, I like the dueling opinions about things. I like, Tag, that you've got a little bit more of a sauce to you every once in a while, that you wear your opinions on your sleeve, and I appreciate that. I think that's a great thing to have. But Teresa, you take the sweet and mix it with the salty, and it creates the ultimate, what is it? The Baby Ruth bar.
There you
Everybody loves a salted nut roll. So that's exactly what you guys are.
That's the most Midwest thing I think you've ever said. Salted nut roll.
You guys are the goo-goo cluster of podcasts, which is high praise coming from somebody who has diabetes who runs through his family.
Wow.
So keep doing what you guys are doing because I love what you guys offer to the Disney space. It's invaluable.
Well, thank you, Alex. And we just appreciate everything that you bring too, because like you were just saying, it took you 10 years to go through and do all the nitty-gritty research. You think the discussion topics here are plentiful? Oh no, you got to go listen to the Backside of Water podcast because they're nothing on our little deep dives because it makes our
the
deep
production quality.
Yes, and it's incredible.
You guys make me blush. and now you've built it up that it's only going to let your listeners down.
No, not at all.
Y'all, it's really one level below like an original 1980s NPR. That's what you can expect.
But that's what's fun about it.
It's
true. Well, thank you guys.
It's okay. I'll be the only weekly tier without an answer. Make sure you send your questions to Producer James or Producer Vern at trivia@DLWeekly.net.
Well, welcome back to Trivia Land.
I'm waiting with bated breath to figure out if I knew anything about the year I was born. Mm-hmm. Keep in mind, I was an infant.
You were. It would be a while until you go to the park. I just want to say I'm just so grateful that we're still coming to Trivia Land, even though we didn't go over to Snack Chat. So we're still here. And
You're
you
like,
don't have a
suck
snack
it, Snack Chat.
I would say nothing of the sort. That's how you get an explicit rating tag.
Oh my goodness.
But let's get you those answers that you're so excited for. So
because I may or may not have given you them.
It's true. So my first question for you was, what was the fireworks show playing in 1981?
I'm pretty confident about this one.
You should be, because that fireworks show was there forever. Fantasy in the Sky was there when you were born.
Did you look up how long it was there?
I did not, but it was definitely a long, long time.
A long time ago in a galaxy far, far away.
I wouldn't be surprised if there were people out there who still wish it was the show and just stayed the show.
It was the first fireworks performance at Disneyland, beginning in 1958 and running until 1996. It also appeared at the Magic Kingdom from 1971 to 2003.
Yep. So definitely the most explosions for that show of Disney history, right?
Something.
All right, question number 2. I asked in 1981, ticket books were beginning to be phased out. What was replacing them? The full title of the passport is the All-Inclusive Passport. I'm giving you the points, of course, because this offers you unlimited use of all the park attractions.
Good job, Teg.
Exactly. Yeah, it's funny to think like a passport, and now we just have the tickets. We don't even have to think about, like, can I go on this or not?
I know this is an unpopular opinion, but I feel like get rid of Lightning Lane and Genie Plus and go back to the ticket books. Make the entrance to the park cheaper for people who maybe don't want to ride attractions and stuff, and then have a ticket book. Have like a digital ticket book.
It's a fascinating idea, right? Probably doesn't work for the number crunchers though, right?
It could.
It could. Who knows? Anyway, next one. What attractions opened within 2 years of your birthday? That is Big Thunder, opening September 15th, 1979.
I'm so glad that we had Alex on because I'm doing him proud with this one.
I may or may not have intentionally done Big Thunder clues or questions for these past 2 weeks.
That's okay.
And opening May 25th, 1983 was Pinocchio.
I had it right.
You had it right.
Wow. Well, now I'm really curious to see what the next answer, the bonus one, is.
Yeah, so one of these attractions replaced a different attraction, which closed and eventually moved to make way for it. The attraction that moved, that got a more classical spelling, flipped around the R and the E.
For theater, Fantasyland Theater.
Fantasyland Theater, yes. So good thing you didn't doubt yourself and go over to the teacups. I'm pretty sure the teacups have been around for quite a while.
Well, they've been around forever, but what I'm saying is they were not in the location that they're in now. Because in Fantasyland, originally, the carousel and the teacups were in the middle of Fantasyland, because there was the pirate ship and stuff back, and then there was, of course, all the other stuff going on with Storybook Land canal boats. I wonder what was there where the teacups are today. Now I'm curious.
I don't remember, but if you would have remembered your hint, you would have remembered I told you it was a new attraction, and so the teacups and the teacups would not have.
That is true. That is true.
Do I remember right that Pinocchio was in the Florida park first, though? Pinocchio's not there.
Winnie the Pooh. No.
Winnie the Pooh is what I'm thinking.
Maybe.
Yeah. Good thing this isn't a Florida Parks podcast.
Right.
All right. What's your magical map finding?
So I'm looking at an aerial view from 1972, and the carousel was closer to the castle, and the teacups were right behind it. And then the area where Dumbo is now is where the Chicken of the Sea pirate ship and everything was. And then it looks like over, it's hard to tell because I can't zoom in enough. It looks like maybe that's, okay, Dumbo was over here. So I don't know what this is, to be honest. I think it was just a planter and like seating.
It could be.
Fascinating. And back in this time, Fantasyland, it looks like, didn't connect over to Frontierland because this aerial view is before Big Thunder Mountain was there. And it looks like this was kind of a dead end right here. And then this was the mine train and the pack mules and everything. Look at this. In 1972, there was empty space in Disneyland. Look at all this empty space.
I just see Toontown there. I don't know what you're talking about.
Toontown's back here. This is Videopolis, and then the Fantasyland Theater, and this is now part of Galaxy's Edge. Mm-hmm. But wow,
that was just opportunity back then.
Look, no Splash Mountain.
Yep.
Wow. Okay, we've gotten off track as we do.
I mean, it wouldn't be a Deal Weekly without doing this.
Look what else is missing.
A parking lot.
No, look where this is.
Oh, yes, Space Mountain's not there.
Yeah.
Yes, of course. That is 5 years before Space Mountain.
I'm just saying, it's sad. No Space Mountain.
It is sad. All right, last question. The one I figured I'd get you on for sure. So, according to the Disneyland Summer 1981 Wallet Fact Cards, which came in that vintage magazine.
Now, are you saying fact cards?
Fact cards.
Okay, because where I'm sitting, it sounds like you're saying fat cards. No, and I'm like, what's a fat card?
They're fact cards. They're cute little like cards that you can rip out of the thing.
Because people back in the early 80s like to carry around little cards with facts on them.
It's more for the cast members to have.
Oh, so when somebody went up to a cast member, they're like, "Excuse me, sir, I know you're keeping the park sparkling clean by sweeping up some popcorn, but what is the attendance?"
Yeah. The attendance, they've got a one-day record. How many attractions?
What was the one-day record?
82,516.
Wow.
That was in August of 1969.
Wow.
So, yeah. Tells them where to find information, where the baby centers and the strollers are. It's a cute little card. Oh, and then there's a bunch more on the back.
August of 69 was that was the Haunted Mansion summer and the opening.
Teresa would know that one for sure.
Yeah.
But the answer, since I don't know if I said that as we jumped into a bunch of other things, was 201,899,079 guests, about 5 times as high as you guessed. So what was funny is the magazine, I'm pretty sure, had like vintage photos from the 20 millionth guest.
Okay.
So, you were a little closer to that one. Of the retro photos that were going. So, but that's a lot of people.
That is a lot of people.
And you and I and listeners at home are some of those people that have helped add those numbers to grow more and more. So that's going to wrap up our time here at Trivia Land for this week. For those of you who have great trivia question ideas for us to share with TNT, you can either head to DLWeekly.net and use our new form submission to send questions and answers our way, or email works as well. Just send it to trivia@dlweekly.net.
Well, we will be back next week with more Disneyland news and information.
Until then, go out and enjoy the park.
A special thank you to Sidel for editing this podcast.
Please remain seated until the podcast comes to a complete stop and the doors have opened. Then collect your belongings, watch your head, and step carefully from the episode. On behalf of all of our crew, thanks for traveling with us, and we hope you have a happy and memorable visit here at DL Weekly.